What's up on the gray sheets this time? But someone left me a comment and said, dude, you are so racist towards white people. Unsubscribe. And I accidentally blocked you. I'm serious. I accidentally blocked you because normally something like that I wouldn't block you. Usually because I forgot to leave out a certain detail every time I do one of those videos to make sure it's clear, and I meant to explain it on that video. So when I do those videos, I do it with a big smile because it feels so wrong, but it is true. It is true. I can't, deny this right here. I cannot. But but I don't know. A lot of times I don't think it's aware of, for new subscribers that they don't know because I don't post her on here anymore. Because my girl was known to be very attractive as the hottest girl in school and blah blah. But my girl, if you don't know, is white, and also my kids are white. They didn't just take off of me in a way. So, but that's not using as a excuse. You know how people says, "Well, my best friend is this skin color and all that." No, it's just I done a video before, and I said, people, I've never heard of someone that actually is racist towards a skin color that they are with or dating. I just haven't heard of it. And I said maybe it's possible, but I haven't, seen it in my lifetime. For me, being able to read people is the percentage of how many times seen it, as in the copy of seeing something so many times, is how I'm able to read people. And still to this day, I have not exactly seen that. Like, I've seen people that are racist towards their own skin color, like, who can't stand their own skin color, as in like they'll only date, like, I see whites that only date blacks but hate whites. But they will have white friends, but they just have this whole thing about, whites. I mean, like I said, not liking them as seeing them to be racist. And I've seen blacks who only date white girls and definitely hate blacks and just don't want any black friends at all. I guess they do have some black friends, but they just, I've seen those things before, but not this. I never to this day seen the eldest color they're dating. But anyways, the reason why I wish I didn't block you is I just don't have time to say it in all my videos. I'm just so used to, once I've said it so many times, I forget that I didn't say it. Usually if I do a second take or something and I forget if I said it on that take or not. So that's sometimes in my reviews, if I do more than one take, I think I've already said it in my review, and it turns out I never said it. And I hate when that happens, I know people say you can take notes, but people, I just do this for fun. But no, to make sure it's clear, I was meaning to bring up when I said back in the day I did these videos titled "Why People Do Bad Movie Reviews." I actually go over a story of me learning this, a process of me learning of seeing a copy over and over again, and I didn't really, go through that in that video like I was kind of supposed to, but I'm glad I didn't because I was just kind of at the end of that video getting tired. But in that video, I went over this. I can't, the story of saying something like, I started to, notice a group called a one race group. People who like bars more than the clubs, movies, and shows that star one color, only hang out one color, and date one color. And I started to notice that kind of group, and I explained, my reactions of being around that group is you never are their friend. You know, um, and but that's the point I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get into where I started, I was reading people to be a certain way, but I had no proof until Facebook happened. And then I find out that, or I don't know if Facebook still does this. You can see their friend list, and you can also see the movies they like. And they'll have like 1,000 Facebook friends, and they all star one color. And now to get off of that to stay on movies is in their movie likes. I always remember, like, on the girl's side, they're more strict. So if they date by skin color, they will be more strict than a guy will be. But but still, a guy in that group, they'll all have the same like movies that all of them would be in their Facebook movies that star just one color. And girls, I can't remember now because it's been so long, but it was like The Notebook, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and I used to know them, and it was always the same movies over and over again. And I was kind of a lot of times a token black eye at a lot of people's house. And when they did collect movies, it would be movies that start with color. But then it led to this like silly thing where my reading ability was getting really high at that time. When I had the proof, where I realized this is all true. And it was things that I fear that this was really going on. When I realized I just was having bad luck with girls and stuff, is then I started, on, my mind really got invested in understanding this world. And then I was going to Best Buy. Did I say Best Buy? I'm sorry, Blockbuster. And the story went into. I did the story way better than this. I said it with confidence, and I was just going over the story. But I'm just saying it in a different way. But it was a good story. And then I'll see somebody have a stack of movies, and I'm by now I'm collecting movies. I got my collection coming up, and I'm just like leaning over, and I'm telling this how I was explaining in the story. Every time I'm behind them, they're about to rent these movies. I lean to the side to see what kind of movies they have, wondering what movies try to add to my collection or any movies I don't know about. But what I'm really also doing the most is seeing the movies that he picked to rent are all movies that start one color, and every single time the answer was yes. Every single time. And then when the story of Redbox, which Redbox is dying now, to my understanding. I don't know if there's a Redbox anymore. Um, and what happened? Oh, yeah. So somebody would be on the phone, always on the phone, says, "So should I get this movie or this movie?" And I always want to say, "Listen, bitch, you're just gonna grab the movie that has one color on the on the cover." I wanted to say that I don't, but every single time it was like a copy I kept seeing when they're on the phone too, and you're right behind them trying to want to get a movie, and they say, "What movie should I get?" It's always the movies that have nothing but whites on the cover. And I went and then I got into this thing about loopers. And then one more. This is how it kind of ended, and then I'll get more into as the times change and how I keep seeing the same copy of just little things. And then, there's a point I'm trying to get into. So that I forget the things I constantly keep saying, but I have said before, but I keep forgetting to say on these kind of videos that I mean to say sometimes. But I'll get to that in a second. That's why I feel bad about blocking you, but I'll get into that. Is so on that story, then I got to the story about another thing of Redbox. Every time I went to select a movie, and I said, nothing good to watch, and I'll hear, "Oh, you should get Loopers." And I said, and then I just ignored it. And then, and then another one, I'm like at Redbox, nothing to watch. And then they said, hey, you should get Loopers. Yeah, that was going on YouTube. Loopers, by One Race Group. And then I was like, and then the third time it happened, and I was like trying to get a movie, and this guy said, "Hey man, you need to get Loopers." I turned around and looked at him, and this girl was with him too. She was attractive too, and I said, "Loopers sucked." And I went over, and he goes, "Really?" I said, "Yes, that movie sucked." And I went over all the things was wrong with that movie. And, saying that, the second that he made out with that girl or had sex with that girl, his whole, life should have changed. That's why Back to the Future did a lot better, because the second went to the farm and any of this stuff, everything that his pattern would have went to meet that girl is already gone. He already changed the repos or whatever you want to call it to meet that girl, blah, blah, blah. And there was other things I was saying that was wrong with that movie, but it was just like one of those things. It just didn't make any sense about him saying, "Man, I'm going to kill you, man. I'm going to kill you, man." Talking to himself and just stop. Just making characters dumb to make a movie work. But anyways, the thing is, I forgot to explain. It is I am talking about a one race group. It's not really white people. I'm talking about a one race group, and the thing is, I forgot to explain is when I'm talking about white people, I'm talking about the ones on YouTube. And I said those are the ones doing the movie reviews. Is when I say one race group, it is a group of whites just hang around one color, date one color, like bars one colors, moving shows, star one color. It's like a certain group that does has that pattern like that. The people who do those things, they're the ones are doing movie reviews. So it's not just any old white people, it's a one race group, those kind of people. They're not KKK racists, but they are kind of biased and, racist because it's the reason why they're doing it. They have some kind of thing, where you're not really their friend. They're doing movie reviews. So that's how. Because in the real world, these things I don't run into of people hyping up these movies. So that's why I explained several times. This is only something that YouTube is very different than YouTube. It is a one race group, but I also notice it's the actual group of white guys that sit at a table that have no girls. That's why a lot of the YouTubers are single. It's the nerd group, and again, they were known as to be racist, kind of biased, and they had this whole thing about comic books and all that. But no, it is a one race group doing these reviews. So when I say white people do bad movies, I'm specifically talking about what I see on YouTube, and it is flooded with a one race group. Like Jeremy is in a one race group. Jeremy used to show videos of himself going around doing things, and he only he had no friends of color and stuff like that. And but there's other signs, because I to make it clear, a one race group is they're the villains of the Titanic. They do all these things like they like bars, more than clubs because they think they're civilized. They think grinding on people, as dancing on the club on the dance floor is uncivilized. They think they're civilized, so they're like the remake of Titanic, where they're the villains of the story. They think the things they do that makes them civilized and better, and it's not. They're dumb as shit. But anyways, they're boring. In other words, they're very boring. They have very boring lives, and yeah, my girl's side is on that. I can't even tell you what they do with their lives. Sometimes I'm like one of them. I feel like when their kids look like he's gonna shoot up a school because he does nothing. I can't figure him out. He's just quiet, and somehow about him makes me feel like he has anger, like he's holding in or something. I'm kind of curious how his life's gonna turn out. It could turn out good. I just something about him just seems like this kid looks like they're gonna have a weird life. But anyways, but that was the thing is forget to say is it's a one race group on YouTube, mostly doing the reviews. It just happened to turn out that way, and that's the way it is. Next thing is so sometimes, another thing is notice, like, for the movie Thor, making a black guy a god or making Spider-Man black when it first started happening. I don't know how old you are, but this was years ago. I've been doing YouTube videos for more than 13 years. There's this whole outrage about Thor being a black guy and they're rushing to the KKK, rushing to IGN to get mad because they gave it a good review and their comment session and Spider-Man becoming black and these outrage of people doing videos and putting Spider-Man curtains behind them, being fat as shit, not seeing himself, trying to showing they got a Spider-Man shirt on, all that. They'll say lines like, "Man, well, what if they make a Martin Luther King movie and they make him white?" They did that, and so usually what was the movie? For weapons. So I said, why people stop it? I got constantly this is something I was bringing because I thought it was kind of funny. They say, well, because they do this. So I've seen it. So they used to mix Tyler Perry, but they don't do that anymore. They say, I think his name is Justin Peele. Where you say, well, black people, they're the one hyping up Justin Peele. And I said, nope. That's white people too. That was white people hyping up the movie Us and Nope. Kind of the movie Get Out, but that was more of an outrage of saying this is anti-white. That's mostly what you heard, but so that was just more of a controversy thing where people want to say, hey, let's go check out this movie. But the movie Nope and Us was hyped up by white people because no one black likes that movie. Actually, no one in the real world I know likes that movie. It's YouTube, and that is a one race group that I'm seeing of the group that likes bars, more than clubs, movies, and shows that start with color. So that is, what I'm saying that I am focused on YouTube. I'm not talking about the real world because these movies that are praised on YouTube, no one's talking about these movies. No one. So I can't use the real world because I don't hang around with one race group anymore. It's just it was inedible for I don't know how to say the word right, but for us to just stop talking because I was never really their friend. So I was good looking. I still look good looking now. Not really good looking now, but you know what I'm saying. But they end up with the hottest girl in school, and Yeah, but things aren't all great, and I will get into that situation later. But I'm talking about, so that's why I focus on YouTube, because the real world never heard of these movies being liked. YouTube is, and there are people that hang out one color, and and I proved a lot with a lot of these YouTubers like Jeremy, shocked that no one knew who this hate channel guy was who did a movie called I'm a Racist. Shin talk about only liking movies that star one color, all his top 10 favorite movies and top 20 favorite movies all star one color. Usually, I'll explain that too. I explain that you can also see that. Look at people's best top 10 favorite movies or top 20 favorite movies on YouTube. They all star one color, where they even get to the point they're talking about black and white movies, as in gray movies, if you don't understand, and to at least to say that it's in their top 10, anything without color in it. All right, peace. I gotta go. But yeah, that was one thing. That's the other things I kind of noticed about the movie Weapons when I heard from beyond the trailer before seeing the movie is there is no color in this movie. Well, I guess there was an ending guy, but that's what she said. And I was thinking, oh, is that what's going on? But like I said, I'm talking about YouTube. So, and it happens to be a one race group, and that's why I focus only on YouTube. Because real world, none of this has happened. None of this. I can't come up with one example. This is YouTube of a one race group. All right, peace.